Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome back to the Socks and Sandals podcast, where economic elevation and spiritual cultivation converge, and we unapologetically discuss our worldview. I am unconditioned. I am unlimited. I am indivisible duality. I am your host, Emanuel Williams. Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome back to the Socks and Sandals podcast, where economic elevation and spiritual cultivation converge, and we unapologetically discuss our worldview. I am unconditioned and unlimited. I am indivisible duality. I am your host, Emanuel Williams. Greetings. You are listening to episode 183. This conversation is being recorded at the GMP Podcast Studios on East 25th and Burnside, Portland, Oregon. Today is June the 21st, 2022, the first day of summer. Just a few announcements before we get started. Today is a historic day in America, bro. The median home price in America is officially $407,000.
Dang.
The median price of gas in America is $12.36.
He lying. Yeah.
Now, I don't know what it is around the country, but right now in Portland, Oregon, it's about $5.50, $5.60, something crazy.
It's too much, bro.
Yeah.
Like I got here, $10 worth of gas gets you like
You
5
can't put
feet.
10 on anything. That's the thing of the past, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 in your tank is like, all right, you can go from here to Gresham and then you're done.
Yeah.
You're not coming back.
Yeah, bro.
It's crazy. My sister, she still live in Houston, and she was like, man, gas is like $4.52. I said, sis, come on now. Like, we at $5.50, and that's on the low end. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's pretty wild. But going forward, moving from that ridiculous price of gas and homes, I will say this about homes. It's pretty wild, bro, because I remember when I was in Houston going to school, I was looking at houses out there back in the early 2000s, and everything was like under 2 or just over 2.
Okay.
And so if the average is 4, that means out there it's crazy. Texas used to be that place to go where it was just like, oh, it's cheap.
Yeah.
It ain't cheap no more.
So if it's 4 here, what you think it is over there?
It's probably like $3.50. You know what I mean? Maybe $3.70, $3.80. But the places in the country that's low is like Minnesota, Michigan, like Iowa, like random places, but not
In the middle where nobody wants
But
to
the destination places like Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, like all of that is up now. You know what I mean? So, all right. But moving forward, let me introduce my amazing guest, man. He's a man of many talents. He's a father, an author, an entrepreneur, an interpersonal skills coach. Make sure I say that right.
Yeah.
The creator of Cultural Emotional Intelligence, the founder of Black Flame Yoga, one of my closest friends. He's back for the second time. He's back like he never left. He's back like a chiropractor on vacation. This is my guy,
Yes,
Emanuel
sir.
Solomon. Emanuel, welcome back to the pod, bro.
I appreciate it, bro.
No
I
doubt.
appreciate it.
No doubt.
Can I give you some
my
love,
guy.
bro? Can we?
My guy.
Okay. Okay. Appreciate you,
For
bro.
sure, for sure. It's
Definitely.
been a long time coming, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much has transpired since the last time. Actually, you were on the show twice back in like 2017 when I started. So we did an episode on the white man's religion.
Okay.
We've
Yeah.
come a long way since then.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot has changed in our worldview
Yeah.
since then, as we were defending the faith, so to speak.
Man. Yeah. Indoctrination and all that.
Man,
Yes, sir.
It's
Yes,
crazy. We could do 2 hours on that topic right there alone. And we also did a episode on communication and how, smartphones and social media is changing communication. And that was 2017. So if we listen to that, that's like a time capsule, bro. So I think those are episodes like in the 30s and the 40s if y'all want to go back in the archives and check that out. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I appreciate you for being here.
Appreciate you for inviting me, bro.
Yeah, no
For real,
doubt.
for real.
No doubt, bro.
Yes,
So
sir.
let's get into it. I want to talk about your story, your journey, your worldview, why you do what you do, what makes you you. You know what I mean? So out of all the things that you've done, I want to start with your entrepreneurship. Right?
Yeah.
And so I want you to talk about, Emanuel Solomon training and coaching, and specifically cultural emotional intelligence. What is it? why did you create it, and why did you build a business around it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a heavy question, but
Yeah.
let me start with the journey. Um, and you know this because we've been on the journey together.
Facts.
During different times, I was. I mean, I probably done everything. You know, a little bit of everything, and so, um, what was that? Maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I really made this decision that I was going to start um, making
I feel like a pastor now. I'm sweating like a mother.
I started making a conscious effort that I was going to start growing intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the time when my life was really, broke, marriage difficulties. At the time I was married, and I just was looking for answers.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this quote that I remember that really changed my life. It was, "You don't get out of life what you want. What you want, you get out of life who you are."
Mm.
And so
Seven.
I realized that I had to become better if I wanted to get what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started on this path of just reading books, listening to audios, getting around people that were more successful than myself, and really learning and adopting new ideas. Because I realized that the stuff that I had been taught all my life really it didn't amount to shit, right?
That indoctrination is something else.
So
Something
I
else.
I really had to unlearn a whole lot of things, and in that process, I realized that I really love people.
Mm.
You know, I think I've always known that, but I was like, how can I create a business around that?
Mm.
And first, it started with just connection, right? Just connecting with people, and then I started understanding more about emotional intelligence. It was like this buzzword that kept going around. I was like, emotional intelligence, what does that mean? And I started to research more and more on that skill of connection and relationship. And
In the time for a timeline purpose, what time is that? Like
so in maybe about, man, that's tough.
like
I'd say
2012, 20, or maybe 2014, 2015 or something like that?
yeah, 2014, 2015 was when if we're saying 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years ago is 2014. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somewhere around
2013,
then,
2014. Yeah.
somewhere around then was when I really started to dive into that emotional intelligence piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years later, if we're kind of time capsuling,
Mm-hmm.
a few years later, I started remembering all these different shootings that were happening, all these
Facts.
all these black folks was dying, and
Mm-hmm.
I had to start paying attention to my people, and it was like it's one of those things to where it's like when you do something for everybody, it ends up typically serving white folks, right? Like
Right.
like I got something in my mouth, but when you do something for everybody, it typically serves white folks, and then if you really want to like help your people, you have to do something specific for your people.
Facts.
And so I was like, okay, if these people that I'm learning from, that I'm growing from, have high levels of emotional intelligence, then how come they can't connect with black and brown people? That was the question that like really made me start like thinking like I'm learning from the people who are controlling and indoctrinating me on relationship. Like,
But they can't have a relationship outside of their culture, or that doesn't serve them.
right. But even deeper than that, it's like the relationship that they have with us is dysfunctional.
Very factual. Yes.
So I can take some of what they say, but there's a huge gap in awareness that they either don't have or don't want to have, so that they can maintain their power.
And they couldn't acknowledge it if they wanted to. Like it's just it's so far outside of their realm of reality.
Right.
Like I brought up a quote to Tyler, our guy Ty Tyler Monk. We all went to high school together. So, but and he was on the last episode if y'all been paying attention. But I brought up a quote from James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. And as dope as that book is, there's certain parts of that book where there's like this level of privilege of being able to just do what you want to do when you determine that you want to do it. Mm-hmm. And then everything in society will just kind of conform to your will because you decided to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, damn, that's that white privilege. Like, that's that white supremacy stuff where it's like, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do in a society that is tailored for you.
Right.
But as for me and my house, we can't do all of that. Even if we set our intentions to do this, there's still a hurdle that we have to overcome that is not addressed in some of these writings.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had to, I guess, for lack of a better term, I had to extract the whiteness out of emotional intelligence, and I had to create my own.
Yeah.
And I was like, I noticed two gaps. One, I was like, culture and ethnicity and race are not talked about in emotional intelligence.
Facts.
And I'm like, why is culture extracted away from relationship? And I was like, that aligns with white supremacy as well. Mm-hmm. It's the extracting of culture and then the indoctrination of a new culture, which is white culture.
And the default is whiteness. So it's just like, what else is there? It's just us, according to them.
Right. So I was like, all right, well, if this is going to be something that I'm going to like, this is going to be my baby, culture needs to be infused in it. And we need to talk about race. We need to talk about culture and ethnicity. We need to talk about white supremacy because these are all relational issues. These are not, everybody keeps talking about the system. They keep thinking that like the system is a robot or it's institution. No, the system is white consciousness. And I was just talking about this the other day. I was like, the system is white consciousness. It's not institutions. It's not buildings. It's not laws. It's white consciousness. And if you don't realize that, you're going to be creating solutions for a problem that was 20 years ago. But white consciousness changes. And so we have to realize actually what we're up against. And so when people are talking about the system, it all came from a person and came from people and their mind and how they think. And it will change and grow and adapt just like everything else. So what I had to do was I was like, all right, I'm going to put culture at the forefront of emotional intelligence. So we can't avoid race. We can't avoid none of that. We're going to have to talk about it because that's who we are. And that's a part of everyone's experience. And we're not going to whitewash it. And so I created cultural emotional intelligence, which is the intersection between cultural ethnicity and emotional intelligence. It's emotional intelligence from a melanated lens that doesn't cater to a white power structure. It's the way emotional intelligence should have been when it was created. So that's what I created. That's my baby. And we start there. And, man, it's just been amazing, just the journey of constructing and deconstructing these ideas and my own ideas and infusing them into some of the good science that is around emotional intelligence.
Some of the good science. You got to say that. You got to say that because it's a lot of the science around race and ethnicity is terrible.
Right.
It's pseudoscientific, and it's just white supremacy on steroids. It's white supremacy with a white coat,
yes.
with a lab coat and some glasses.
Yes.
It's like, hey, I'm a scientist, Negro. And it's just your skull is this shape, so therefore, it's like, wait, that's not scientific.
Right.
But
and they use it to enforce whatever indoctrination that they want.
Oh yeah, that's a fact, bro. We have to talk about our change. Well, specifically you, because I'm interviewing you, but like the change in worldview, spiritually, just like consciously, your change in worldview to be able to allow yourself and to open up and follow this path. So I don't know how much you want to get into it at this time. But I would like to ask you, like, how does your change in worldview allow you and empower you to do this type of work? Because I know personally, me, like, when I started the podcast, I always tell this story, but when I started the podcast, I was questioning. I was firm in my faith, but I was questioning, right? And I wanted to have conversations and I wanted to test my faith. And I never thought that I would go away from my faith, right, as a Christian. But as I opened myself up to new information, I had to be intellectually honest about what I thought I believed, what was taught to me, how I was indoctrinated versus what is actually true, what is factual, or what other information was I ignoring the whole time because of my confirmation bias. So as you expanded your consciousness, how did that help you follow the path that you're on right now?
I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't expand my consciousness, I would have stopped where my religious views told me to stop. And that was the issue with my whole life was just like stopping asking questions, stopping this process of thinking that I've always had, but there was always a scripture that kept me from it. You know what I mean? There was always an ideal that kept me from going on, whether it was sin or hell or ideals about what right and wrong is. And so just having this paradigm shift, and it was crazy because this is, I tell everybody that will listen, you have to be on a path of personal development and growth in order to go through these paradigm shifts and not be fully injured to where you can't repair yourself. Man. Because people don't change just on their own. Like really, like scientifically, we change because something horrible happens or some kind of huge change in our life happens.
Right.
Or either you're already on the path of moving forward. So that was where me and you were at that time, was like, we're already on the path of moving forward. So why not keep on growing in all these areas of our life? And to be honest, the pain that I endured with this paradigm shift, I felt alone for a lot of it. But the fact that I had, like you were a huge part of being okay with the pain the conflict that I had inside,
right,
and the fact that so many people from family to friends didn't like my transition. So I mean, like you were huge. You kind of led in that area.
I mean, it was mutual though. Like we had each other.
Yeah.
You know, like I couldn't have done it on my own. At least I mean, we both went through our stages of like feeling lonely throughout the process, because that's natural. Because like we can only talk on the phone or kick it for so long. Eventually, you're gonna be by yourself, and then you just got to deal with it.
Right.
You have to tell your family, tell your significant other, whoever it is. It's like there's life, and we were in the church, and we didn't just go to church. Like we
active,
like we believed it. We did Christian hip hop. Like we really lived it. We believed that every word of that book, and we taught other people. Like we went hard. And so when that's fully ingrained, like that is your culture. Sometimes church is people's culture. So you not only give up your sense of spirituality, or pivot from your sense of spirituality, you also pivot from your whole cultural, social setting, and you got to rebuild that.
And somebody was telling me this. They were like, man, I think there was some arguments about they didn't understand why Christians, like white Christians, were still being racist. And
how much time you got there, buddy?
And I was just like, I thought about it, and I was like, because within this system I call systemic whiteness, they've basically taken over all these different areas, from religion to Like you talked about the 9 areas of people
Economics,
activity.
education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war.
Yes. And so within that, you're actually they create this dichotomy where you actually choose religion over your people. It's like that's what it is. Like, and for us, it doesn't serve us. Right. For white folks, it does serve them because their religion, in the way that they see it, it serves them. It actually helps to support the system of white supremacy. Right. For us, it hinders our ability to connect with each other. We're still fighting about different denominations and stuff. And Baptists won't mess with Methodists or whatever. So if that's the issue, what if you go even further out, like Christian versus Muslim, or Christian versus a person who just is spiritual, or so there's just so many divisions within black folks and brown folks, and then they're just like, yo, I don't care, I got the system working for me, baby. It's right. Good. So. Right. I guess to answer your original question, though, it's like it was necessary for me to go through that pain of opening up my worldview and paradigm, or I wouldn't ask these questions. I wouldn't keep going. I wouldn't keep trying to see why culture is not infused, why white supremacy is ignored, why when we talk about these things, we're talking about them typically from a Eurocentric or white lens, and instead of an African or melanated lens. So I couldn't have done it without changing my paradigm.
Man, that's heavy. That's heavy, bro. And as you change your paradigm, I know personally it allows you to think differently and be creative in different ways. And so you and I, we was cooking up at the same time as we were changing our worldview, changing our philosophy, and kind of on our entrepreneurial path of, teaching everything that we've learned, all the books that we consumed over the past, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, So, so that leads us to navigating whiteness. You not only have an ebook, but you teach a course on it. So for those that don't know what navigating whiteness is, please inform them.
Man, yeah, that was crazy, because I was like, this is the first piece I felt like of cultural emotional intelligence. And I know people at the time, they were like, oh, why do you keep talking about white people? Why do you keep worrying about like systemic whiteness? Why is that so important? It's because I just realized that we don't start at zero, we start at white. And when I realized that, I was like, we have to put that on the table first, because otherwise you're just going to move and you're going to end up supporting the system by default. And so that course, Navigating Whiteness, really was part of the process that I went through of like leaving whiteness in my mind.
When you say start at white, though, what does that mean? Like,
I mean,
what's an example like of starting at white as opposed to thinking you just starting at ground zero?
That was a paradigm shift, what I just told you. So even though I said it in a sentence, like it might take people years to understand exactly what that means. Yeah. From let's say, if you believe that the world has been around and people have been around for 150, 200,000 years, from 200,000 BC to 1400s, we've the world is operated in tribe and in nation. And each individual group and culture has specifically, to the best of their ability, operated in order to support their culture, their people, and pass those customs, those beliefs, those traditions down to the next generation for their survival. From 1400 till now, we have a system of systemic whiteness and race. So everything that we see, do, think, act, and speech ideals are corrupted. It's kind of like when you get a virus in your computer. It doesn't matter that it's only, it starts as a small, a couple things stop working, and then you just ignore it, and then you end up corrupting the whole file, and now you gotta like get your whole, your everything has to be rebooted, and that's the same thing for us. Like as black people, we have to start over. We have to start over.
That reboot is scary. People are scared to reboot. I get it too, but
yeah,
it's necessary though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be free, if you want different outcomes, it's gonna have to be a lot of work.
Yeah. And so in the course, though, we talked about what whiteness is, or systemic whiteness is, why whiteness is, right? The why to white supremacy, and then how it's expressed, both on a personal and professional level. So that was what I worked on, and I continue to keep making it better and better. People love that course.
Word.
Yeah.
What is whiteness?
Okay, so how I defined it through all my research, whiteness is not a color, it's not a race, and it's not an ethnicity. It's a social position which can only be attained by being non-melanated, Caucasian, European, whatever you want to use, and upholding the systems of white supremacy, either consciously or subconsciously. So these two criteria have to be in place at this particular time in order for you to be white. You have to be either non-melanated or Caucasian and uphold the systems of white supremacy, either consciously or subconsciously. And so that can change, because they can change. But for now, that has been my understanding, and I've broken that down to where people can actually understand, like, oh, okay, like this is why before the Irish were not white, but now they are white. This is why, based off of their support or upholding the systems of white supremacy. And a caveat to that is people that are European can, in how I define it, they can also not be white.
See that is where we differ, my brother. But we not gonna do that right now.
Yeah.
But tell me why. Tell us why you come to that conclusion. How a white person cannot be white according to your definition of whiteness.
So according to my definition, is that they can be Caucasian or European and consciously or subconsciously not uphold the systems of white supremacy. And I use some examples of different European groups. Some of them during the time of slavery, who actually went against the system. Some were like the Quakers. There are other groups that went against the systems of white supremacy, not necessarily because they just loved us, but because they just weren't in alignment with the system of white supremacy. So what I'm saying is that even though they might be recognized as white, their identity wasn't white. Just like there's Eastern Europeans and other types of Europeans that don't even operate within the system of white supremacy. And you would look at them and see the phenotype, but their culture, their beliefs, their traditions, their thoughts and speech don't necessarily align with the system, and they actually might be are opposed in many ways.
I can kind of see. I guess I will respectfully push back. I can kind of see though where what you're saying and like how you come to that conclusion. Like in a sense, I could understand it as the Russians, the way that they're operating and their political ideology. Like anybody that's communist, the so-called Western powers are typically against them, even if they got the white, European phenotype and the white skin. So I understand what you're saying from that standpoint. I would still say they do have the privilege of being white because they could come to America and blend in if they want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And at that moment, when they uphold the system of white supremacy, then they would be white.
But what I'm saying is they don't even have to actively do anything. They could just show up and receive their privileges. It's not like they're gonna show up and get like a land grant, from the government and be like, no, give it to the Negro. They'll be like, oh, okay, thank you. Like and unless
Do
I
that
would
accent again, please.
No, I'll stop that. So sorry, I apologize to the
do this. No,
to the Eastern European. That's a terrible accent. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like they would have to like do something extremely revolutionary to consciously not be like, they would have to try so hard to not be white, because everything would just be given. So when things are given to you, you're just naturally going to receive it, especially if you don't even know the politics of America. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I was trying to help people answer that question, because even when you're doing your course, Know Your Enemy, don't we have some kind of misinformation or miseducation of who we actually are fighting against? Because certain people think that like, okay, it's only the KKK that we're fighting against.
Right.
Or it's only the conservatives.
Right.
It's not the liberals, and it's not this, and so you can't concentrate any of your effort because you're so confused, and it's not your fault. Because whiteness is confusing, because they literally renamed themselves.
Yeah,
and then reinforced it with power.
And it expands and it changes. Like you said, it changes, it adapts over time, it expands. Like you said, the Irish became white, the Polish, the Italians, like anybody that was not a Nordic, British, Dutch, you know what I mean? Like the Spanish, whatever, the original colonizers. If you weren't them, then you didn't get the privilege.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so it does expand over time. So yeah, I guess to that point, Know Your Enemy. It teaches. I do teach from more of a systematic standpoint, but I just default to Neely Fuller's definition of white.
Okay.
So it's anybody that has white skin, that identifies as white or has been identified as white and operates in the world as white, and then anybody else that does not have a white designation is non-white. And essentially there's only truly, according to Neely Fuller's definition, two races, because he likes to simplify it, right? He doesn't want to have too much confusion. And he talks about the other colors, tan, yellow, red, black, whatever, of people. But it's like, for a simplification purpose, it's just white and non-white in this world. And that's how white supremacy works. You either one of them or you're not.
Yeah, you're either in or out.
You're the in or out, and that's pretty much all that matters to them. And we have to understand the patterns of thought, speech, and action, and emotional response and symbol formation that kind of aid and abet the system of white supremacy. And we have to divorce ourselves from those patterns and from those things that we know that are just going to fortify the system.
Yes.
And so that's what I try to impress upon people. Like, know exactly what you're up against, know how it works, so that you know how to counter it. But a lot of people, like you said, they don't know what to counter.
But I think it's tight, though, if you really think about both of we're different people. We're attacking the system on different levels. I'm doing it more on like a people level, or a personal individual level, or social, and you're attacking it on a systemic level.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's dope.
It's necessary. And it's like, and everybody, when it comes to fighting the so-called system of white supremacy, like, we all have to use our talents, like whatever talent and whatever message that the creator gave us, that he or she, that they gave us, created in us. Like, we are marked and stamped to do a certain thing, in our life. And I think one of the things that bonds us together is like, we both go for like what we know to be true and what we know to be right, and we're gonna go full force. We're not gonna hold back, So it's been dope to be on this journey with you, and just like,
likewise,
our lives changing, and it's just blossoming. It's beautiful, bro. So
And I think people need to know that it's it's okay to disagree because we don't agree on a lot of different things. Even when we're talking about our philosophy for what systemic whiteness is and isn't, um, we have different philosophies.
Oh yeah,
but we can still rock, and that's one of the things that's going to be necessary
it has to happen
because we're not going to all agree, and we're not going to get consensus for all black people to understand the same things in the same way.
And black folks, like, we just have to have a code of conduct. You know what I mean? Like, we just need to know how to deal with each other and understand that we not going to all, just like you said with the religion part. Like you said, religion, for folks in this, white people in the system of white supremacy, like, they could be religious or not be religious, but it's like, whatever they choose, as long as it aligns with whiteness, regardless of the religion, they're safe. But for us, we'd be like, oh man, you a Hebrew Israelite. So were you on the Hebrew Israelite, or was that just me?
Well, I dabbled in the understanding. I was like, oh, this
Yeah,
kind of sounds.
it was
the next left. It was better than Christianity.
It was better. Yeah, it was the cultural version of like the black Christianity.
Yeah.
So when I was on that's when I was just like, I'm done, because it was like, all right, so I'm not Christian no more. But this Hebrew Israelite thing, though, is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then, as a Hebrew Israelite, with all due respect to my brothers, you know what I mean? But like the way that I understood it and the way that it lived in me was like, they not us. And if nobody was like us, and nobody was upholding the law, then, dang, we kind of got to distance ourselves from them folks, because they, you know what I mean? They kind of, like they ain't got it. And it's just like, wait. We don't have the luxury of separating ourselves and being divided in any form or fashion in this system, the way that it presently stands, and, is just on autopilot. Like, nah, we got to put that stuff to the side and come together and stop pointing fingers and like categorizing all these different people, these different types of ways. And it's like, nah, that's not going to work.
Yeah. And
for me, it's not going to work.
And Africans, I believe, like when I studied history, Africans have always had that understanding of putting our people before our spiritual beliefs. Like, you can have you can have multiple spiritual beliefs, even when they're talking about Mansa Musa and many of the when Islam was adopted in West Africa, many of the people still practice some of their ancient spirituality practices, and
they was like, whatever works, we gonna do this. We gonna pray to this God. Who? Allah. Okay, hey Allah. Who? Buddha. Okay.
Right.
They was like, nah, whoever can help me out.
Right. But they still put their people first.
Oh yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah. That's a whole fact. Before we get into this rapid fire, bro, tell us about Black Flame Yoga. That's popping off in the city. Folks need to know about what you got going on.
Man, Black Flame.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, started from back pain and then morphed into something beautiful.
Back pain to Black Flame.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah.
Back pain to Black Flame.
Yeah.
Next thing.
Nah.
But yeah. But yeah, that's how it started. So, people kept telling me, from my doctors to other people, that like, man, you need to go to hot yoga. I went to hot yoga and I was like, man, I like this, but there's nobody that looks like me in here. And I feel like, get out. I'm like, these white folks are different. And they be looking at me like this is an exclusive white club that only they can sweat in. And I'm just like, I don't even know if I can sweat in your area.
This sign said white sweat only.
Bro, this
man.
I was like, I didn't even know if I could take my shirt off. I was like, man, they might mess around and get my DNA or something. Man, what is going on in here? Why are they looking at me? Why is everybody looking at me right now? Like, you know what I mean? Like, really, bro? It was not that great, bro.
Dang.
And so I was like, I talked to.
Gotta do something about that.
I talked to my my baseball coach, who happens to be a European, right? And
You playing baseball right now, or what's going on?
And I mean, he owned a studio, and he said, "Hey, man, like for real, like I want you to be able to have something. If you can get black folks here, you know, I'll step away. You can have the space. You can have yoga. I already have a black yoga instructor who might want to connect with you. If you can get the people, you can do it. Like you can do it however you want to do it. I said, for real?
For how much though?
For the free.
Oh, okay. He don't charge you.
Doesn't charge me.
Mm.
So he said, he basically said, I'll let you do that if you can get the folks. I'll give you the space.
Mm.
So I was like, that sounds kind of cool. And so I connected with his one of his employees, a black yoga instructor named Ami, who's super dope at at yoga. I mean, like her, she's African. She knows what she's doing. She knows about the body, and like we just connected back and forth. And I was like, yo, if I want to add a consciousness piece to this, though, I don't just want it to be about yoga. I want it to be also about connecting us as people in Portland, community building, and I want it to be also building our consciousness so that we can attack, or not even just attack, but we can build both the mind and the body at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was game. Started with just us. I would talk about different conscious aspects, and then she would teach the class. So we would talk for a little bit, and then she would teach the yoga part. And so we just week after week, we just started building it up, man. And it was just amazing. Like I saw how many black people were just coming, and they were saying like, man, this is changing my life. Like I never even knew that Portland had something like this. Like this could be huge. People are getting excited.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a blessing for me too, man. So
no, I'm spoiled, bro, because like I only know of yoga because of Black Flame and what you created. And I honestly, I was like kind of hesitant. I was like, man, I ain't trying to be in there just like hot, sweating, just passing. I had like the worst case scenario of what could happen, while stretching and being in a hot room like that, bro.
Yeah.
But it's so relaxing,
man,
and it's just, I don't want to say it's kind of intoxicating.
No, go ahead and say it.
It's intoxicating, bro. Like that feeling of just sweating and stretching and the music, and then doing that for an extended period of time. It's like dynamic meditation.
Breathing.
Yeah, breathing and all that. And once again, doing that in a space that's all black. And,
say that again. Can you say
doing
that
in a space that's all black in Portland, in the
Yes.
whitest city in America.
Yes.
Like at least whitest metropolitan city. Like that's groundbreaking, bro. So, and I'll say this privately, but I salute you for doing that, because that's huge. It could be huge. It is huge, and it's going to continue to grow as time goes on. But yeah, bro, like, so everybody needs to come out. Tell them, what days they can come out and how they can sign up.
So Black Flame Yoga is every Saturday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Forge Hot Yoga on Alberta and 13th. So look, like we have it every Saturday. Y'all need to come out, man, for real.
Come
like
through
every Saturday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. You can also sign up on Eventbrite. We're on there, so if you want to make sure you save a spot, because spaces are limited. So we want you there, though. And I was just saying this, there's only consciousness and how we think. I would say our awareness is only open to what we're around, right? Our environments, right? So you can't be aware of what you don't know and what you haven't seen or thought or felt. Rooms like Black Flame Yoga, certain parts of your brain won't even be activated until you come into spaces like that.
That's a fact. I've literally witnessed that. I mean, yeah, we've witnessed that. Certain parts of your brain, just what comes out, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, is different. So y'all got to pull up for real. So let's get into the rapid fire as time is waning on us, bro.
Okay.
So got a few questions. Don't think too hard about it. First thing that comes to your mind. All right. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A marine biologist.
Dang. And your major in college was what?
Fish and wildlife.
Man, that's crazy. So how old did you know that you wanted to be a marine biologist? How old?
I was like 9,
Yeah,
9 or 11 or something.
that's dope.
Something like that.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Best advice you've ever received?
Dang. These are deep questions for rapid fire. Best advice?
Yeah. First thing that comes to your mind. You don't got to be like
my God.
definitively the best, but like what's if we need to come back, we can come back.
Dang. Come back to it. Come back.
Worst advice you've ever received?
Oh my gosh. The worst advice I've ever received was that you need to know God before you know yourself. That is literally the worst advice.
That's some churchy stuff right there. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's too funny.
Yeah.
Seahawks or 49ers?
Oh, 49ers. Come on. Come on.
My bad. I just had to
Come
see how
on, man. I mean, I know I've been,
you've been
come
changing.
by night.
You've been
Man.
changing, you know what I mean? So I just gotta see how solid
God.
you gonna be in certain areas. This is a tough one though. Colin Kaepernick or Jimmy Garoppolo? Who you
I'm
take?
going with Jimmy.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't hate Jimmy like you hate Jimmy, bro.
No, I mean Jimmy is who I would pick Jimmy too. So I'm not I'm there. I'm right there with you.
Because you had a certain amount of hate for Colin.
I wouldn't
At
say I
his
had a certain
time.
amount of hate.
Yeah, you did, bro. You left him so quickly.
Because
Like
I
a
seen
ghost, like
because I seen his potential, his ceiling. He
Oh.
reached his ceiling so quickly. And when when he stopped, I was like, "Oh, it's over. That's it. That's all we gonna get from Colin." So Jimmy definitely. I'll take Jimmy.
Yeah.
As well. This gonna be these next two gonna be tough. If you had to choose out of MLK, Marcus Garvey, or Malcolm X to be your life coach, you can only choose one of them three. MLK, Marcus Garvey, or Malcolm X. Who would it be and why? It's gonna consult you. You can consult them at any time throughout your life. Only one of them though.
Dang. It would be between Malcolm X and Marcus, but I gotta see. I think it would be Marcus.
Thank you.
Marcus Garvey.
There's no correct answer, but I'm definitely going Marcus as well.
Man, but I want Malcolm though for my just to give me power. Like
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you can expand on that.
I was just thinking because I was like Malcolm. I would need him for cultural emotional intelligence because he knows how to think and speak clearly and connect emotionally
Facts.
with the highest power structure in the world without getting frazzled. I'm like, how do you do that interview after interview while people are getting shot and hosed and beat?
Man.
So, but then I thought about Marcus Garvey, his expansive understanding of the world.
Yeah.
I felt like that I'm gonna need what he has for all life.
Yeah. Facts. One more of those like that. If you had to choose from John Henrik Clark, Francis Cress Wilson, and Amos Wilson.
Dang. You gonna make me choose?
For your life coach, you can only choose one. Who would it be and why? Once again, John Henrik Clark, Francis Cress Wilson, and Amos Wilson.
I have to say Amos.
And
Amos, we pray, bro. He's the one of the ancestors. And I love Francis Cress, but I was just thinking, I was like, Amos is going to tell me the hardest possible truths.
That's a fact.
In the cleanest way.
Man, that's a tough one for me, bro. Like, that is tough. It's tough. I wish Amos lived a little bit longer. I mean, rest in peace. I don't even know how he you know what he passed from, but he was relatively young when he passed.
Well,
He
like
wasn't
55, 60 or
I don't think he was that old, bro.
Oh,
Amos he seemed young, man. I don't know, but so I do lean towards Frances just because her work has impacted me so much.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
and it's something about getting advice from a black woman that's just like confirming, like nurturing, and you know what I mean.
Yes, how she teaches too.
Yeah, yeah, man. So I would lean toward Frances Crest, but Amos Wilson is a close second, easily. 3-month fully financed sabbatical. Where are you going?
Dang, fully financed. I'm going to because it's fully financed. I'm going to Ghana and Tanzania within that.
Tanzania. Why are you going
Because
there?
I want to find someone who is no, but really like I I want to go to West Africa because I at least believe that that's where my roots are.
Mm-hmm.
I do need to go through the ancestry.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I really want to get deeper into more African culture in Africa.
Yeah, I dig that. 3 more questions. If racism ended tonight, how do you think the world would change?
Oh my gosh. People, nature would start to reset again. Like literally, like the effect that racism, white supremacy has on the environment is toxic.
Yeah.
And I think that relationship dynamics would change like instantly. I think that people would be more authentic, even if it seemed to be abrasive. You wouldn't be able to come into somebody else's culture without giving the proper respect.
That's a fact.
And you're not guaranteed to be able to get up in somebody's culture. So there would be a building process of just continual relationship dynamics that would grow. And I think it would also affect nature. Like people would start going back to their tribal roots and a basic way of life that's more sustainable.
Right.
I think those things would happen. The relationship dynamics would change, and the relationship with nature would change.
Yeah, man, that's heavy. If you woke up tomorrow and realized that you won the lottery for $100 million, how would you spend your time and your money from that day forward?
Wow. I would of course save some money.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Got $100 million now.
No, yeah. But I make sure that I had enough for, to save. Then I would be working programs for Black folks. I would start mentoring a whole bunch of Black folks so that they could create wealth. And I would find the right folks. Wouldn't just pick anybody, but I'd pick Black people that show promise, and I'd build them up so that we could build a strong community. And I would be, man, there's so many things that I would do. I'm a flash. I will flash.
What you mean, bro?
I mean, I will have everything that I did not have, bro. I will have.
You let folks know. You know what I mean?
Like the cars, the house, the boats. I will have all those things.
Word. I dig that. Last question. You won't be here to enjoy it, but what message do you want communicated at your eulogy?
That I love my people. Yep.
Simply put.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that. Bro. Appreciate you as always, bro.
Yes, sir.
Let the folks know how they can get a hold of you, your website, your socials, all that good stuff.
You guys can go to navigatingwhiteness.com if you want to go on my website and get the free ebook. Definitely suggest that every melanated person gets that ebook. You can check me out, Emanuel Solomon 03 on IG, or you can go to Emanuel Solomon on Facebook.
Facts. And if you want to follow the podcast, follow us on Instagram at Socks and Sandals Podcast. Follow us on YouTube, Socks and Sandals Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at SXSNDLS. And you can follow my personal page on Instagram, EmanuelWilliams.co. And that is also my website, EmanuelWilliams.co. So tap in, check us out. And if you have not given a review on iTunes, give us that 5 stars, give us a review. All of that goes a long way. All right. So once again, it's the Socks and Sandals Podcast, where economic elevation and spiritual cultivation converge, and we unapologetically discuss our worldviews. Holla at y'all next time. Grace and peace.
Sir.
That's it. Thank y'all for listening and watching the Socks and Sandals Podcast. Make sure you go to EmanuelWilliams.co for all things socks and sandals, all things that I do as an equity trainer and equity practitioner. Grace and peace.